Hello and thank you for tuning into this video. Thank you so much for joining me in this now moment and one another. My intention with all of these videos is to assist in raising the frequency and the vibration with one another and on Mother Earth, or on Mother Earth and with one another, and just to kind of tap into our multidimensional aspects of ourself, as well as just raise our awareness around the energies that are coming through, ascension, and all the messages that come through from my higher guidance team. So I just want to back up just for a moment and say again, in gratitude, I'm very appreciative of everybody who not only watches these videos, but comments and even just shares and gives feedback from a positive love light perspective. And it helps one another see that these things that are being expressed from my heart are real, and they are from my perspective. And these videos are meant to be felt, although this one I'm going to do a little linear explanation of my perception or perspective of dimensions. And this is just one perspective because I have several, but I'm going to try to keep it simple star seeds and give you that. And then we'll go into a little light language, I feel, or possibly some messages. So I just want to back up for a moment. When I'm in flow, what I refer to it a lot if you haven't seen my videos before, or even if you have and you weren't sure what I was talking about. How many times have you guys been in flow where you're just creative and things are coming to you, or things are lining up, you're in synchronicity, you're having a day and everything just falls into place? I call that flow, being in flow. And I try to be in flow. Try is the wrong word. The more I relax and let go, the more often I am in flow and in synchronicity. And the more that I'm pushing and fighting and looking outside of myself for that flow is when I don't get as much synchronicity. And it does fluctuate for me. I'm learning along with everybody else. We are all at different stages of our evolution. Or cycle, or whatever you want to call it. So I did a video briefly, I don't know if I've posted it yet, with just a brief thought about evolution. We're all evolving, we're all changing. Is our rate of evolution different between one another? I don't know if that's an answer that I really feel that I want to go into right now. However, we are all evolving. We are all changing. The difference is, are we cognizant of it? Are we conscious that this is happening, or are we asleep and just kind of, letting the chips fall where they may? So, yes, all of us are evolving together. However, we are not all waking up at the same time in the same way. So I hope that kind of makes sense about that. So for myself, where I'm at in this journey currently in this particular video, is I do a little bit of everything, just like I am a little bit of everything. I've got a little bit of everything in my bloodline, in my DNA. I've also come from many different star systems over many different lifetimes, from my perspective. If that doesn't resonate with you, it's fine. That's not what this video is about. It's just kind of feeling the messages that are coming through. I honor all perspectives, and I invite everybody to come from a place of non-judgment, just in general about life, not just about my videos that I'm sharing with you guys. It's just from my own perspective. So my perspective comes from what I've experienced in this lifetime, and I've experienced a lot in this lifetime, which perhaps someday I'll share with everybody. But I feel to this day that I experienced many of those things I went through because so that I could be here sharing what I'm sharing now, or from another perspective, so that I can learn many things, or from another perspective, because I chose in a previous lifetime, or as a God particle, right, to a piece of God, to experience certain aspects so that I can learn, just to experience them. From another perspective, I'm showing you guys an example of an open perspective and non-judgment. From another perspective, I chose to experience those things so I could learn more about what I'm not, right? So some of the negatives in my lifetime. Now, I also see, so my higher guidance team for me is higher versions of myself. So I just wanted to touch briefly on dimensions. Many of you guys already know what dimensions are, or you have a concept of what dimensions are. I'm still kind of putting it all together, and I do feel that there are multiple perspectives about what dimensions really are. Science has a perspective, light workers have a perspective. I'm just going to go give you my example. So from my perspective, I am connecting with other versions of myself, my higher self, oversoul, whatever you would like to refer to these energies as. I call them my higher guidance team. So not only do we have guides that perhaps were human or had a past life with you or lived in the future, and perhaps you helped them, so they chose to come and help you while you were experiencing this particular lifetime. So I have several of those. So thank you, guides. And then I also have the connections to a certain energy of channeling. So I'm connecting to beings. Oh, let me get to that last. So then I'm also tapping into, of course, what I've learned in this lifetime, right? From a linear, non-linear level. Like, I've gone through this, I experienced this, so I learned that. And again, plethora of things I've experienced in this lifetime. So there's that perspective. And then, but the videos that I'm primarily, when I share this information, it's in flow. So again, synchronicities are coming through, everything just lines up, and it feels like Spirit is kind of coming in to connect. And I get different perspectives from, let's say, a past version of me who was Aboriginal and was a shaman, or perhaps the Native American aspect of me that was the medicine woman, or a healer, or the past version of me who was a mother in a past lifetime. And I could go on and on. So those are the past lifetimes I'm using as an example on Earth. Now, I'll get to that in a moment, drawing the picture. And then the future versions of me, perhaps on Earth, okay? I'm going to go there, you guys. This is a very broad perspective. So I'm communicating with them. And I would see that. I'm being guided to draw that. Again, from my perspective. This is my other video. I'll come back to this in just a minute. So here's me. Smiley face. Here's me. Here's me. I have a much bigger head, apparently, when I was in a past life. All right, so if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at, right? So here's this timeline. I'm using this as a linear perspective, okay? So now, present. And you guys, some of this might seem like you already know this. If you want to fast forward to the other juice, go for it. But I'm going to talk and explain. So, past and future. This is our linear perspective. It's one line, one dimension, right? So I am tapping in when I share this information with you guys to all of these versions, because this is all happening now, okay? And we'll say that this is in a circle, right? So I could even say, put these guys on the circle. Okay. Which I won't get to all of that. There's plenty of videos on that. I'm just going to keep it simple for one easy perspective. So when I say I'm connecting in with my higher self from the 9th dimension, you guys don't go, what is she talking about? Although you still might if you haven't seen this video yet and it's in the future. Anyways, so here we are. We all have the ability to do this. So I started going into meditation, and I was seeing an Aboriginal man. I was seeing a shaman with a third eye painted on his head who was in Africa. I saw some villagers in a rainforest in South America, and I was part of the group, my family. I've seen Egyptian, and I'm very connected with the Hathors. I've seen tidal waves, so where I've been someplace and we were immersed by a tidal wave. So perhaps that's Lemuria, for example, or an Atlantean type of event. Now this is all, I'm using these as examples of past, right? So I have this past version of me. I'm really just delving into it. But I have all these past versions of me. There's my little African shaman. There's my little Native American shaman. I died on the Trail of Tears, and so these are all versions of myself, right? So I've got all these little, one, I was a mother who lost her children. I mean, I could go on and on with all these aspects, okay? Not all of the versions of myself are shamans and healers. Some are just regular beings who had a somewhat normal existence. Okay. Then I have the present me who has gone through whatever I've gone through in this lifetime with family, friends, relationships, etc. Then there's the future me, and in the future me, or I don't really know because it's all kind of in a circle. So I use future roughly because the future will come back around this way in like a strange loop. So if you guys don't know what a strange loop is, and you guys remember this is all my own perspective. It's pretty cool to go look up. So you got your future. So now I've got my future me on this wheel. And this future me, let's say I'm connected to Venus. I'm connected to Sirius, which technically is past. But I'm using this as a time. So I want to just get back to that in a minute. Time is not a dimension. I'm only using this as an example. So I'm going to go through that. So for example, and I'm sharing this with you guys because this is what my guidance team was like, let's talk about this today. So I'm just going there. So before I get too far into this, okay, no, they're saying just go for it because it'll be easier to explain. So now let's say I've got these guys over here and I've got these guys over here. Okay? And in this past present of me on Earth, okay? And we'll say this past version of me, a galactic, for example. And here I've got Sirius. Here, let's say I was on Venus for a little while. It doesn't mean I'm a Venetian, but I might have lived there for a while. Just like I've lived in California. So I have that connection as well as other places that I've lived. And let's say I've got Arcturus. I lived on Arcturus for a while, or let's say I was a planetary gatekeeper in Andromeda, right? I'm just using these as examples. I've got other work with Lyra, big Lyran energies that come through. Now down here is Earth, and here I was a mother, a shaman, a medicine woman. Some might have referred to as, you know, a seer, and we'll say, right, or a gatekeeper here on Earth. And this shaman was in, let's say, Aborigine. We'll say Native American. I say Celtic, but I know it's Celtic. I always just, some of the stuff I mispronounce, so apologies on that one. But let's say the Druid. I got the Druid connection. Now you guys might be asking, well, how do I find that out? You guys, usually what you're really drawn to is something that you either were or are in a future, past, or present lifetime. So we'll get to dimensions in a minute. So now we're just talking past, present, and future. So in the past, I was connected to way back, let's say Andromeda. Okay? But the past on Earth, I was connected to shaman, medicine woman, mom, men. I was women and men. Then there's me in the present. Okay? And then in the future, let's say I've got more versions of Earth, and I'm a scientist. Let's say I'm a healer. Let's say I work on another planet. I have to laugh, astronaut, more like a space cadet, but let's say, so that would go with scientist, healer, whatever I might be in the future Earth, okay? So this is future Earth, and let's say I work with plants, okay? But we can also say in the far future, perhaps I am now living on Venus, or I reincarnated as a Venetian, let's say, which would most likely be past, but let's say I've reconnected now with the Pleiades. And let's say I live on Mercury. Ooh, that's fun, isn't it? Mercury. So those are my existences in the future. So I've got okay, so this is Earth, right? You guys are going to have to zoom in on that. I'm sorry. I'm writing so small. Okay, so now I've got this version of my, so this is past, present, and future. Now, among all of this, everything's happening now. So I'm all of that. So are you. Right? There is no time. Everything's happening now. So if you look at this grid, and this is a really, really rough like example of a grid, and I know it's kind of messy, but you see this grid over a grid, picture nesting dolls, right? So let's say that I am collaborating. These are all connecting into me now. Okay, and Lumeria is past, right? Lumeria over here somewhere. So now I'm connecting here, I'm connecting here, I'm connecting here, and I'm connecting here. Now, so those can be referenced to parallel dimensions, although that's not really how I see parallel. I see parallel as more of same dimension. But parallel is also future. So this is not to be confused with densities, although density is lighter. So Arcturus, for example, is a 9th dimensional. I think maybe 9th. I think Pleiades is 6th or 7th. Sirius is 6th or 7th. But we'll just use Arcturians as a 9th dimensional consciousness. Now here I am in 3D, plugging into 9D. When I channel, because I'm opening myself up in alignment with my heart and the highest benevolence of all, I'm tapping into those connections. Does that mean I have to be Arcturian to do that? I don't feel that's the case. But theoretically, I'm everything, because we are all a piece of God, and God is in everything. That's in a whole other video, but so back to this. So I'm plugging into that 9th dimensional. Now let's say I have Arcturian energy, or I have it in my DNA. And I did exist as an Arcturian, or let's say Syrian, for example, because I've seen myself as the blue Syrian being. So let's say I'm connecting with my Sirius bloodline. It's not really blood, DNA, whatever you want to call it, energy. So that means I am me as Syrian, speaking in light language now to you guys and sharing that with you guys. That's why so many of you guys out there feel it. It is a frequency, okay? Now, in the future, let's say I have high advancements and I know a lot about mathematics. I have to laugh about that too. But, hey, I'm guided to talk about quantum physics sometimes, which I haven't shared all those videos yet, but that's a whole other video. So I'm plugging into that version of me that lives on Mercury and has learned how to harness the energies of Mercury for the betterment of mankind, right? And I'm pulling that in and threading those energies through to me now. It's ironic that I kind of drew this like an eyeball. All right, so parallel dimensions, let's say on Earth. I'm a scientist in the future, and I'm a shaman in the past, and I'm Carrie now. And that's past, present, and future. But let's say I'm Carrie now, and if everything's happening now, and there's multi-dimensions, perhaps I am Carrie who, is doing a different job. And this other timeline that I created somewhere, that's a whole other ball of wax. But there's also parallel realities in addition to this. It's so much from what I see in my perspective from my guidance team. And I haven't even gotten into the angelics. The angelics are here as well. And the archangels. You could call the galactic beings angels. Because if an angel is a 9th dimensional frequency, then the Arcturians are part of that 9th dimensional collective that then form themselves into a certain name. And Now that's another video too, but I just want to sprinkle that in from my own perspective, from what I see when I'm tapping into these energies. That's why sometimes the energies are poetic. Sometimes the energies are more of a binary code-esque. Some of them are more science-based, and some of them are just about the collective. So this is just me. Imagine now, plug this into the grid and picture all the versions of you and everybody else. So you see where I'm going with this a little bit? So this is past, present, and future. This is parallel realities, but it's also higher dimensional, meaning fifth dimension, Christed energies, or Christed consciousness, which is love and light. Higher energies than that, higher, just a frequency where it's lighter, where you get to the non-physical even, that, let's say, Arcturian is non-physical, and that's because it's a high vibration energy that doesn't really need to form into a dense, so that leads me into density. Density is form, heaviness, heavy. Higher density is obviously lighter. So, there was something else I wanted to go with this. I'm just going to go back into flow a little bit here. Also, they kind of are guiding me to show it like a bubble. All right, so I'm going to erase all of that. You guys get the picture on that. So if you look at everything like a bubble, also like this, a spiral, and a wheel. So strange loop to me. Okay, I'm being guided to leave that up there. So let's say this is 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, 8D, 9, and up. There's more, okay? So now we're, let's say, here and here. Do you see the overlap? Not to be confused with Vesica Pisces. I'm just showing an overlap. Now you're also going into 3D because you're on Earth. Let's say here, here, and here as my future version, my past version, which still could be 3D. And let's say now I'm linking into this 4D versions of me. Do you see where I'm going, all my bubbles? And then I'm also linking into my future version of myself that's already in 5D up here in Mercury. And here I am. But I'm connected to this down here. And I'm connected to Arcturus, which is up here. But this bubble comes together because I'm bringing it into here now. You guys, this is, I know, really out there, but I'm just hoping to give you just a little picture of like, oh, okay, that's how I see things. There's so much more, and there's much more based around science. This turns into geometries. This might be 5D, might be a diamond geometry, a frequency, whereas the other lower frequency would have been a ruby frequency, which I'm going to do a whole video on that because I have pages of notes about that. So, what I'm sharing, though, on purpose is we're all tapping into that. It's not just me that's doing it. Sometimes you go into meditation and you see yourself as a, being who was a very tall being on, in another planetary system. Or maybe on this lifetime you were a man before or a woman before. And we're integrating those energies a little bit so that we can kind of shed some of those layers, and in essence shed those layers so we can go up in vibration, if that makes sense. And then we are able to kind of integrate those energies so that they can be utilized for other things, transmuted, integrated, more, not necessarily turned into something else, but used for energy. Also, I didn't mention the Earths. If we have parallel versions of ourselves, then so does Earth, because she is a planetary being as well. That's a whole other plethora. Whoa, lots of information, I know. So a channeler is essentially drawing that energy in from the ninth dimension, perhaps. Someone who's in flow and connecting with their multidimensional self that they already are is a little bit different, but it's in essence very similar and very much the same from my perspective, because we're all one and everything's happening now and we're all connected. So when we get into, let's say we become more telepathic, well, is that thought their thought or is it my thought? Is any thought my thought? Am I pulling it out of the ether? Because we're all in connection with one another and truly we're connected to the one source and we're experiencing it in our different, unique, individual ways. However, we're still one. I'm just going there. Why not? This is fun, right? It's fun to use your imagination and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I see this all as connected, of course, and this is all just kind of creating a new geometry right now. So we're creating in this grids system, and we're assisting Earth in doing the same thing. And if you guys have seen, like, you know, there's plenty of sci-fi movies out there that kind of touch on this. And you'll see a movie and you'll go, that really resonates, because it's probably true for you. I think I'm going to end on that note. Sorry about the light language. I didn't quite go there, but I'll do that on a different video. So hopefully, nope, I'm being guided to do it right now. So let's just go for it. By the way, that was an example of flow. So when you're in like this, when you're in a flow, it's easier to hear what your higher guidance team wants you to do. When I say what they want you to do, what you are guiding yourself to do. I really didn't like the idea of thinking that my guides were me in a past life or a future life in the beginning. And now I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. Does that mean all your guides are you? In theory, yes. But like I have 3 guides for that. One's an angelic, 2 are guides that we had separate lives, but we're still connected through source energy. So if I, let's say, channel my guide Artemis, then, or the angelic Marta or George or whoever my guides might be, who was a monk, right? I'm bringing in that energy because they're offering it as a sharing, just as someone who's channeling a sharing from another energy that they're able to tap into. I hope that made sense a little bit. I'm going to move this because this gets a little echoey, I think. Yikes. Sorry about that. I have to invest in a new camera, a new whiteboard. Oh, I don't know if that's going to focus. There we go. Okay. All right. Just breathing in and out. Allowing the breath to come in easily through the nostrils, filling up the belly, the chest, expanding the ribs, and exhaling, just let all of that breath kind of leave the body with ease. We are in a whole new scale of harmonics, and as these harmonics come through in new tunes, in attunement, in frequency, transmission, trans-harmonics, trans-alignment, trans-union, a transformation begins, happening at the cellular level, happening at the soil level, at the soulular level. So the combination of earth, body, and of course the soul. Ishtra at indra ak ushtra het indra sashtra ushtra het indra sashtra et indra ak ua. As we connect in with you and collaborate with you, all beings on earth benefit from it. And you guys, this isn't just in reference to me, what I'm sharing with you right now. We're talking, they're talking to you about what you're doing. So I see this as a message for not only myself, but also for you guys. And so we're going to go back into this. So all that you provide in the form of assistance to one another is a form of you tapping into your highest version of yourself. It's a form of you expanding your consciousness. It's a form of you tapping into your higher dimensional energy and decreasing or lifting off the weight of the density that you've been in before, we've been in before, that we are in together, that we are not in together. For this has already transpired, this has already happened. Hence, that is how we are communicating with you, through you. For if you were not able to increase your vibration, if you were not able to lighten the load, so to speak, we would not be able to have this message with you. For in this forming of partnerships, in this forming of creative collaboration, we are then sparking up the grid. Oh, I had a grid on my whiteboard. I took it down. We are sparking up this intercommunity, this intercommunication, this network that carries through from the God. And I say God particle, but you guys, I want to just back up for a moment and invite you to be very non-judgmental about that. I see a source energy. The Native Americans call it the spirit that moves in all things. You might call it Mother Nature, whatever your flavor is. For myself, it is, I'm just referring it to it as a spark of the cosmos, because that's what we are. We're star seeds from my perspective. And so as we ignite the flames and recognize the fire in which we originate from, fire is loosely used because I see fire as geometric shape that is moving like a flame, but in all of these colors. So picture like a fire pit and you see the flame and it gets really hot and it's blue and white and red. Or if you've ever had the pleasure, the opportunity to burn a tree that's been struck by lightning and is dead, and if you take that tree and you burn it, I think they call it logger knot or lighter knot or something like that, it is like rainbow. It is so cool. And that's what I'm seeing. Like, we are the liger knot seeds. Ooh, that's so fun. So we're like sparking up the grid, and I see all these little fireworks going off in different colors, depending on the harmonics that we're playing from, right? And that we're playing through. So if we're in a very dense area, the harmonics that we're playing through might be a little heavier. And so we're being used, okay? We're being assisted, and we are assisting as conduits to then therefore light up that grid space, that area of the earth, that city, that home, that workplace, right? And so as we collaborate with you, you feel more inspired because you are tapping into more of you. You're tapping into what I drew earlier, the scientist, the artist, the singer, whatever it is that sparks your soul, that is part of your soul spark, that your soul has journeyed through and been a part of so many times, in so many dimensions, in so many versions of you, in so many versions of Earth, in other planetary systems, on other planets, as a star, in the animal kingdom, with the elementals, in the oceans, and I'm seeing like it goes on and on. And so we, in these tones, in this moment, in this message, invite you to feel our presence. We invite you to sit in collaboration with the oneness of you, with the sparkle that you are, with the divinity that you are becoming. So I'm hearing it be, come, in. So like be, come, in. So come into yourself, being one with yourself, step into who you really are, beckoning. So beckoning us to play and remember, this is who you are. You read a book and it inspires you to work with children. This is who you are. You decide to become a parent because you wanted to have a star child, to then work together as mother and child to create something new, or a father and child, right? Or inviting in to be that engineer so you could work with scientists, or I'm seeing structures, like a lot of the buildings that need to be built for the fifth dimensional harmonics to really cooperate and work, building in the positive sacred geometry, building in the feng shui, so that when people walk into a building, they feel good and they automatically channel that inspiration of love and light into their work, right? I'm hearing this is a reference to you grid keepers too. You know who you are innately. Our spectrum and our harmonization is felt in the bones. In the field around you, in the breath that you take in. For we are all of those and more. For you are all of those and more. So I'm being guided to talk a little bit about light language. I didn't draw it on the board, but picture, if you haven't, I'm going to cut this into 2 videos. So if you haven't seen the first part of this video, or video number 1 is what I'm going to call it, draw a picture to the, let's say, the Lemurian language, which is also tied in with the Pleiadian frequency. And let's say that's coming through as an example, okay? And that language is then anchoring in, possibly, those frequencies from that dimension, from that lesser density, right? That's why it feels so like home, or it feels like you have a reaction to it, because perhaps that was who you are connecting with right now, your Lemurian brother or sister, your Hathor brother or sister. Ndora hai ak oe kine ki ak oe este kimi kiana. Ukue ak he ak oe e kikini ki kukunoa kikini ana. Di ak oa. Dik ak anak ukua ne hashtag inikina ki akua and hit anahak ana hashtag in hit anahak anak ukua. Plug in with your frequency. Allow yourself to open and expand to the frequencies that are surrounding you now, that are within you now, that you already are tied into. Ishtak inikiat anak ashtak is ishtikini it inistastak it inet et ikishtar ak enestastak inik inishtak inet ishtak ostere et inistastra. Uk uet inik inehet ishta ek inik inak it ishta ek ikinik ishtak it hak ashtak ukua ak enihit inishtak ine. Ishta hak enestastak ikinikiak ukua. Ukua enetien kukua shtakian nakukua. Ua okua ik ua hana kia okua ak ua han ak ik ia hak ana hok ua ik ine hik ina hak ok ua ia okua ekine hik ia kua ki ana hak an ak ana hak a okua ne het ina ak ia kokua awa ki shtia kine ak et ia hak ana hesti ak kua okua ene het ina hesti kia kono ene het ina hani na uina kia na het ia. And so we come to you now. Again, reference to what I drew earlier. Now, past, present, future, above, below, within. In love and light, truly. We honor you. We celebrate you. We are you. For you are the bringers of the light to this density, so to speak. Ikua et ia aki ishtikia akukua este kanahak ukua akekua neste et iste eneheki anakukua uakuno ekua este ekua anahat inihidina. So I'm seeing a reference to what do you think the ancestors were setting up all of this stuff for in the past. Those pyramids were set up knowing that they would last until now. Those spots on the earth were set up with seeds planted. Our DNA is part of the seed, but I'm also seeing again reference to crystals. I'm getting so many messages about crystals right now. New crystals that are being, that are connecting, that are part of our heritage, essentially, that have grown with us and are now assisting us as we are assisting them as communication, as communicators, as transmitters, transmitting to the universe the great oneness that we are. The heartstrings are playing the most beautiful chords. When we find love and grace in our hearts, when we feel our feeling of expansion, non-separateness, when we connect with our brothers and sisters who need our support. I'm just seeing their view of us. Big breath in, long exhale. In love and light. Namaste. Thank you guys so much.